there's also a lot of security concerns about ClawBot, OpenClaw, whatever you want to call it.
OpenClaw bot.
To me, that in the beginning, I was just very annoyed because a lot of the stuff that came in was in the category, yeah, I put the web backend on the public internet, and now there's like all these CVSSs, and I'm like screaming in the docs, don't do that. Like this is the configuration you should do. This is your localhost debug interface. But because I made it possible in the configuration to do that, it totally classifies as a remote code or whatever all these exploits are. And it took me a little bit to accept that that's how the game works. And we're making a lot of progress.
But there's still, on the security front for OpenClaw, there's still a lot of threats and vulnerabilities, right? So like prompt injection is still an open problem in the industry-wide. When you have a thing with skills being defined in a markdown file, there's so many possibilities of obvious low-hanging fruit, but also incredibly complicated, sophisticated, and nuanced attack vectors.
But I think we're making good progress on that front. Like for the skill directory, ClawHub, I made a cooperation with VirusTotal. It's like part of Google. So every skill is now checked by AI. That's not going to be perfect, but that way we captured a lot. Then, of course, every software has bugs. So it's a little much when the whole security world takes your project apart at the same time. But it's also good because I'm getting like a lot of free security research and can make the project better. I wish more people would actually go full way and send a pull request, or like actually help me fix it. Because I have some contributors now, but it's still mostly me who's pulling the project. And despite some people saying otherwise, I sometimes sleep. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, there was literally one security researcher who was like, yeah, you have this problem, you suck, but here I help you, and here's the pull request. Mm-hmm. And I basically hired him. So he's now working for us. Yeah, and yes, prompt injection is on the one hand unsolved. On the other hand, I put my public bot on Discord and I kept a canary. So I think my bot has a really fun personality, and people always ask me how they did it, and I kept the soul.md private. Mm-hmm. And people try to prompt inject it, and my bot would laugh at them. So the latest generation of models has a lot of post-training to detect those approaches. And it's not as simple as ignore all previous instructions and do this and this. That was years ago. You have to work much harder to do that now. Still possible. I have some ideas that might solve that partially, or at least mitigate a lot of the things. You can also now have a sandbox. You can have an allow list. So there's a lot of ways how you can like mitigate and reduce the risk. I also think that now that I clearly did show the world that this is a need, there's going to be more people who research on that, and eventually we'll figure that out.
And you also said that the smarter the model is, the underlying model, the more resilient it is to attacks.
Yeah, that's why I warn in my security documentation, don't use cheap models. Don't use Haiku or a local model, even though I very much love the idea that this thing could completely run local. If you use a very weak local model, they are very gullible. It's very easy to prompt inject them.
Do you think as the models become more and more intelligent, the attack surface decreases? Is that like a plot we can think about? Like the attack surface decreases, but then the damage it can do increases because the models become more powerful and therefore you can do more with them. It's this weird three-dimensional trade-off.
Yep, that's pretty much exactly what's going to happen. No, but there's a lot of ideas. I don't want to spoil too much, but once I go back home, this is my focus. Like, this is out there now, and my near-term mission is like, make it more stable, make it safe. In the beginning, I was even more and more people were like coming into Discord and were asking me very basic things like, what's a CLI? What is a terminal? And I'm like, if you're asking that questions, you shouldn't use it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you should, if you understand the risk profile, it's fine, and you can configure it in a way that nothing really bad can happen. But if you have like no idea, then maybe wait a little bit more until we figure some stuff out. But they would not listen to the creator. They helped themselves and installed it anyhow. So the cat's out of the bag, and security is my next focus.
Yeah, that speaks to the fact that it grew so quickly. I tuned into the Discord a bunch of times, and it's clear that there's a lot of experts there, but there's a lot of people there that don't know anything about programming.
Discord is still a mess. Like, I eventually retweeted from the general channel to the dev channel and not the private channel because a lot of people are amazing, but a lot of people are just very inconsiderate and either did not know how public spaces work or did not care. And I eventually gave up and hide so I could like still work.
And now you're going back to the cave to work on security.
Yeah.
There's some best practices for security we should mention. There's a bunch of stuff here. OpenClaw security audit that you can run. You can do all kinds of audit checks on the inbound access, tool blast radius, network exposure, browser control exposure, local disk hygiene, plugins, model hygiene, a bunch of the credential storage, reverse proxy configuration, local session logs live on disk. There's where the memory is stored, sort of helping you think about what you're comfortable giving read access to, what you're comfortable giving write access to, all that kind of stuff. Is there something to say about the basic best security practices that you're aware of right now?
I think that people turn it into like a much worse light than it is. Again, like people love attention, and if they scream loudly, "Oh my God, this is like the scariest project ever," that's a bit annoying because it's not. It is powerful, but in many ways, it's not much different than if I run Cloud Code with dangerously skip permissions or codecs in YOLO mode, and every attending engineer that I know does that because that's the only way how you can get stuff to work.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make sure that you are the only person who talks to it, the risk profile is much, much smaller. If you don't put everything on the open internet, but stick to my recommendations of like having it in a private network, that whole risk profile falls away. But yeah, if you don't read any of that, you can definitely make it problematic.